Welcome to our 2024 Meet the Athlete series. We're not doing a video on every single athlete this year. We are going to do 4 episodes and we are starting off with Team UK. 30 videos, and it probably would have ended up being about 35 with the amount of dropouts that we've had this year.
Yeah.
Auntie Liz just couldn't cope. So we're doing 4 episodes this time.
It's a lot of work, the Meet the Athlete series, and it's a bit much if I'm honest. So yeah, I didn't know how to group it. I didn't want to do it just by geography, but to be honest, that ended up being by far the simplest way, even though it's not that balanced. Okay. But we're going to have UK, USA, Europe, and then rest of the world. Okay. So today we are looking at Team UK.
Who have we got in Team UK? So
starting off, we have the 2-time champion, Tom Stoltman. We also have 2-time Europe's strongest man, Luke Stoltman. We have the Welsh bull, Gav Bilton. We've got the 2-time winner of Britain's Strongest Man, Adam Bishop. And appearing at his first World's Strongest Man, we have Kane Francis.
No Par on this list?
No Par. Par competes under the Irish flag at the World's Strongest Man, so Par is in Team Europe.
Okay.
So first off, we have some quick facts about our group of athletes here. They have a total of 8 international competition wins between them. They have 26 World's Strongest Man appearances between them and 12 finals. Luke and Adam are the most experienced athletes at World's Strongest Man, having competed there 8 times each before. But of course, Tom is the most successful, having won the title twice. And finally, Kane Francis is the only rookie this year.
It's the smallest amount of Brits we've seen at World's Strongest Man in a fair while.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, we don't have Mark Felix this year. He's been a staple at this competition for 18 years. So, yeah, we usually have at least 6 Brits. This is a small group, so only enough for 1 in each group.
So should we take a look at the events and see how we think they can do on the different events in the heats?
Yeah, definitely. So they're starting off with the Webster Stones, which is going to be very similar in weight to the nickel stones. I believe similar nickel stone rules, where it's for distance with a 1 10-second drop in the middle or wherever, but they're going to be larger stones than the nickels, so more like Dinny stone size.
It's an interesting one, this. It's not like a farmer's walk or a frame carry. It's understanding how to block out pain firstly and control the stones, and having some experience on this type of event definitely helps, but just being mentally tough is going to be very important as well.
So most of our athletes, everyone except Kane Francis, has done this type of event before. I know Gavin Bilton absolutely hates these events. He really, really doesn't like them.
Yeah, when we look at the results in the past on these type of events, this is not a good event for Gav.
No, unfortunately it's not. Adam Bishop has had some varying results. So they first did this in competition at 2020 Europe's Strongest Man, and he won this event there. And then he did it again the following year in the World Tour Finals, and he came 7th. He was up against better overall competition, including the likes of Evan Singleton and Kevin Ferris as well. Yeah. Tom Stoltman has done stone carries twice in competition, and both times he's come 5th. And Luke Stoltman has had varying levels of success, but he was joint 3rd on it as recently as Europe's Strongest Man.
And he's a former record holder in the nickel stones, the outdoor record on the nickel stones. I feel even though he hasn't done them before, I think Kane can do very well at this. Kane is good when it comes to farmers and frame carries. Yeah. Now, I said that's not so important. However, he's a tough SOB.
Yeah, he is.
He's a real competitor, and I think that goes a long way on this type of event.
Yeah, definitely. And you'd expect it to be a good start for both Stoltman brothers as well, wouldn't you? So event number 2 is the Deadlift Ladder in the heats. Now, everyone's done a ladder at some point, some more frequently than others. For Tom, we've only seen him do it once, and that was in the 2022 group stages at Worlds, and presumably it's probably going to be the same setup. He came first in his group that year.
Yeah, I'd expect a good performance on this from Tom. His deadlift is very, very good. I think he's got the confidence to move through the bars pretty quickly, and the experience as well. I'd expect good points from him. Luke Stoltman has had varying results on this before. He did win this event in his group a couple of years ago at World's Strongest Man. His most recent performance on this at Europe's Strongest Man, I think just tactically he made a bit of a mistake, and I'm pretty sure he will learn from that to be better at this contest. It is very important when it comes to a deadlift ladder that you understand it's not the same as a deadlift for max or a deadlift for reps. You do not need to be the best deadlifter to win this. And it tops out at 380 kilos. Getting through the first 4 fast is vital, and then if you've got anything left for that 5th one, you're going to get big points.
Yeah. Now, Adam Bishop is exceptional at a deadlift ladder. We saw that last year at Britain's Strongest Man. He was just... I've never seen strapping up like it, if I'm honest.
Well, Adam is a great deadlifter regardless of the deadlift.
Yeah.
He's good at all types of deadlifts, and he's very, very quick at putting the straps on. So even though he doesn't need to kind of go with a reverse grip, his speed at transitioning is super fast.
Yeah.
And because he does every single rep the same, he stays in a good rhythm as well. Sometimes just going from the straps, going from the mixed grip or not using straps to suddenly pulling with straps throws people off a little bit. So Adam just gets into a good routine. He's well trained in what he's going to do. He has tactics and a plan that he'll stick to. And I expect, at worst, in any group, a top 2 finish for someone like Adam.
Yeah, and he was top 2 when he did it in the groups 2 years ago. He was actually behind Alexei Novikov. He was 2 seconds slower than him.
Another super fast athlete.
Yeah, but to be fair, they were like 20 seconds faster than Trey Mitchell, who was 3rd place in that group. So, and interestingly, Gav Bilton also came 2nd on this when they did it in the heats a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he's very good at deadlifting. I almost think he suits it when it's heavier. Sometimes when it's a little bit lighter and more speed-based, he's not quite as quick. And his most recent performance wasn't the typical Gav that we've seen. He needs to get back to his best. He's been looking good in training. His just last 2 competitions haven't been as Gav-like as they were at the end of last year or at Britain's earlier this year. If he can get back to that form, Gav can cause problems for people.
Yeah, and Kane's a solid deadlifter too.
And gutsy as well. He's one of those guys that will do whatever it takes to lift that bar, get it locked out. Kane reminds me of like a new Ivers. Just a gutsy competitor, someone that's tough to beat, Maybe not the most talented athlete out there, not the biggest guy out there, but just gives 100% every time we see him.
Next is the Sandbag Steeplechase, which we've seen a few of these athletes do before. However, it is going to be harder this year because they're having a 3rd bag added rather than the 2 that we've seen in the competition.
That is going to mess some people up.
It really is. I think we're going to be surprised at the amount of people that don't finish this.
I think a lot more people will not finish with this extra bag. This is going to make it super tough. I think the guys are going to be dying at the end of it.
I think so too. Now,
really happy that I'm just watching.
Yeah, Tom did this at the World Tour final last year and he won the event in that competition. Luke was also there competing and he came 4th on it. Yeah. Gav Bilton was also competing and he came 8th.
Yeah, I would expect Tom to be good at it. He can just cover so much ground and he just makes the weights feel so easy.
He's like a galloping horse,
He is. Nothing ever looks heavy when he's carrying it. He just kind of scoops it up and then every step is so long that he kind of just eats up the ground. I think Tom is going to be hard to beat for anyone. Okay. I think the rest of these, like guys like Bish has been looking good in training. I know he's been working very hard at it. Luke is, he used to be one of the fittest athletes, has grown in size and stature, got much stronger, but he can still surprise with these type of events. He's still very, very quick.
Move, yeah.
It's whether that extra bag starts to tax him a little bit. I do feel the extra bag is going to be bad for Gav.
Yeah,
such a huge man to have to kind of just work that little bit harder for longer can tax him, and he's not been the best when it comes to this event. Looking at past results, Kane again I think can be solid.
Kane will be solid. He did this at England's Strongest Man. He was 3rd there behind Luke Richardson, who was honestly
unbelievable.
He could have won it maybe at the World Tour finals. He was so good, and also Paddy Haynes, who is super quick.
Yeah, that guy's super fit as well.
So the next event is the Carw Walk, and again, this is an event they had in the 2022 heats, and presumably it's pretty much the same equipment. So we've got that data to use. Now, Tom, he won it in his group. Luke Stockman came 2nd in his group, 2nd to Evan Singleton.
Evan's unbelievable.
He was fastest out of all 30 athletes. Gav was 3rd in his group on this event. However, he was 10th on it at Europe's Strongest Man recently.
Yeah, this isn't the best event for Gav. To be honest, I don't think these are the best events for Gav.
No,
in the heats
unfortunately.
This year, which, if we're being realistic, he's going to need to come in shape to make the final. It comes down to who's in his group, but
of course.
They aren't as good as, say, last year's events were for Gav. However, I wouldn't say any of these athletes are superb when it comes to a Carw Walk. There's not like the Evan Singletons, the Mitch Hoopers, the Rob Kearney type athletes. Tom is very solid. Luke has made very good progress on these type of events over the last few years. Now, when it comes to the yoke, Kane is very, very good. He has done Carw Walk once before. It was the first time he did it. He placed 7th. I think having that experience, he could be much better this time round. But yeah, I think Tom gets big points. I think Luke can get big points. And Adam has done Carw Walk many, many times with some incredible results and some average results. It all depends on what kind of shape he's in.
And who he's up against as well.
It does. I know he's been training hard for this one. You know, he looked phenomenal in the first event of Britain's Strongest Man and then sort of gassed. I think this time he comes in fit and in shape. I'd love to see Adam back to his best because he is a fantastic athlete when he's on form.
Yeah.
So obviously we all know the final event in the group stages of Worlds is the Stone Off. What have you got for us on these guys?
Some interesting information, I think. So Tom Stockman's been on in a Stone Off scenario, different types of Stone Offs, I should point out, 4 times. He's qualified all 4 times via the Stones.
It doesn't surprise me that he's qualified 4 times, but it surprised me that he's been in a Stone Off 4 times.
Yeah, no, he's not like a guaranteed group winner as our Tom, but it doesn't really matter when the Stones.
It doesn't matter for Tom when you've got the Stones as the banker.
Even against Maxime Boudreau, he's qualified, yeah. Luke Stockman has been in a Stone Off 5 times, and he's qualified 3 of those times. Gav made his first Stone Off last year, actually against Luke Stockman, and he lost out in the Stones to Luke. Now, Adam Bishop is the interesting case because he's been in a Stone Off 5 times. He's qualified 4 times. Now, I hope he doesn't take this the wrong way. Bizarrely, in 3 of those instances, his opposition got hurt. But he did have an epic battle in the Stone Off in 2022 with Trey Mitchell where they both lifted the stone 10 times. Trey ended up qualifying. So we know Bish can lift stones. But
he's a good stone lifter. Trey's incredible stone lifter. But what you're kind of saying is nobody wants to be in a Stone Off with Adam because history doesn't look good.
No. It's weird, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It is weird. And then Kane Francis obviously never found himself in a Stone Off scenario. He's a great stone lifter though, and he's confident with his stone. So, but again. So, be interesting. So the first event in the finals is the Giants Medley, which is, I can't remember which way around it's going to be, frame into yoke or yoke into frame. Now, it's the same event that they did in the 2021 final. Each implement is heavier this year than it was in 2021. Tom won that event that year and Luke was 4th, so it was a really great start
Decent
for both of them. Yeah. Kane Francis, like we said earlier, really great at yoke, and he's really good at farmers and frames as well, so I imagine this is an event he would like. Bish was also in that final, 2021, and he came 6th on this event. Yeah,
there's a couple of guys that weren't in that final, such as Evan and Mitch Hooper, that I think will be very hard to beat on this event.
Yeah, agreed.
But Tom, if he could get a 3rd place on this, I think he'd be very happy. So Max Axel is event number 2. A lot of people looking forward to seeing this one at World's Strongest Man. Tom Stockman, I know, is very, very good when it comes to the Axel.
Yeah, so we've not seen, we have seen him do it for Max. That was back in the 2021 Strongman Classic, and he lifted 190 kilos. So even 3 years ago, he's lifting big weights. More recently, we've seen him do it for reps. He was joint 2nd at the Arnold's on the Apollon's wheel, and he's won Axel for reps twice at Britain's Strongest Man.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best Axel pressers in the world.
Agreed.
Weirdly, he's better than his brother. Like, Luke is a fantastic log presser, one of the best. But when it comes to Axel, Tom is better.
To be fair, Tom has beaten Luke on Viking, log and Axel in recent years. So I would say
he's put himself into the echelons of one of the best pressers in the world.
Absolutely. Now, I don't think this would be a great event for Adam Bishop since his tricep injury. The starting weight is 170 kilos, I think.
Adam actually injured his bicep on the Axel many years ago as well. So probably isn't his kind of favourite event to focus on. But he's a battler, and, you know, he's going to try if he makes that final.
Yeah. And again, I don't think it would be the absolute best event for Gavin Kane either. It's just a very heavy start weight. Depending on who makes the final, I can see quite a few missing the opening weight.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. There's a lot of guys, like, I put Gav into this kind of category. I think he's more comfortable on a log.
Yeah, I think so too.
Than an Axel. Axel, a little bit more technical, a little bit more mobility needed.
You can't even really use people's log results to gauge how they're going to be at an Axel, because it doesn't really transfer, does it?
It doesn't. A lot of people don't understand that, because you think if you're going to press a bigger log, you're going to be good at an Axel. A log requires a lot more, for most athletes, it requires a lot more shoulder and tricep strength. Whereas the Axel, you can actually use a lot more leg drive, a lot more technique to it, being more explosive. The bar sits lower. So you think about a log, because of the diameter of the log, it's up higher. So you can get those triceps into it a bit quicker. You're in a more familiar position, whereas with the Axel, it sinks down lower. You need more explosive power in the initial drive, so you can get the bar high enough for the triceps to press out. And athletes have the strength, but sometimes just can't put it together. They can't transfer what they've done on the log into the Axel.
Yeah. So next is the max height keg toss. So it's using a 15 kilo keg, and we saw this at the 2021 World's Strongest Man final. Tom came second. He was joint second with Maxime Boudreau behind Brian Shaw. Bish and Luke were also in this event, and they were tied for 5th place. Now, Gav on paper should be very good at this. He's had some great throwing results. We know he's really good in a series. Kane Francis, no. His probably one of his least favourite events, which is interesting.
Results don't speak well for Kane. He's a shorter athlete. It's just not his favourite.
He trains with Shane though, and Shane is
Shane's
so good. So
yeah. But I'd expect Tom to be getting massive points on the throw.
I can see Tom winning the throw personally. So the Conan Circle, I think, is going to be a very interesting event at Worlds this year. It's coming after the throw, and it is one of those events where going later is definitely an advantage. But also, you can either do it or you can't. Do you know what I mean?
It's interesting because you do see varied results. Now, if we go on paper, probably Bish is the best out of the British athletes when it comes to this event in terms of results in the past.
Yeah. However, Bish had an absolute disaster in the group stages last year. I think he came last in his group.
Yeah, I don't think last year was a good year for Bish, the World's Strongest Man. We've seen him do exceptionally well on Conan's at Britain's Strongest Man before. We know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Tom has notoriously not done amazing at this event. This is an event that if we just go based on what he's done in the past, he could drop points in the final.
However, there is a strong chance he comes into this event and he has the advantage of going last after the throw, which could change things.
I think that will be very important for him. If we think about the shield carry that happened at last year's final, he kind of went ahead of Mitch and put it down. If he is in a position where he's done really well on the throw, gets to go towards the end on this and has seen what other athletes do, that's going to be important for Tom. If he has to go early, before the likes of Matt Ragg, before the likes of a Mitch, it could cause him problems. Essentially, you go as far as you can. But when you've got targets and say you've only got to go a few more feet, sometimes you can just dig that a little bit deeper. If you've kind of gone to the max and you've gone to the max and there's nothing left, then fine. But it's amazing if you get close to a target that you can just push that little bit extra.
Do you think markers and targets should be removed? This was a conversation that was happening on Reddit, because also on the Wheel of Pain at Rogue, they put the name and the marker down, and you do tend to see the next guy goes further, then the next guy, then the next guy.
I like the markers, personally.
I like the markers too.
And I think for two reasons. One, I think, especially if it's not the first event, if it's an event later on in the competition, I think having that reward from doing well is quite nice. But I also think it's good for the fans to understand where an athlete needs to get to. Whereas when you remove them, and I've seen things removed before, people are sat in the audience just like, well, I don't know what's going on.
They can't.
And nothing gets exciting because you can't really figure out where someone needs to be. Whereas if you see a Tom Stockman getting closer and closer to beating someone, everyone sort of lifts him, the kind of, the crowd get behind you. So I think from that side of that aspect, it's kind of a good thing.
I think it would be really unfair to remove the markers personally, because say it's a deadlift and you've got the advantage of going last, how many reps he's done and how much you need to do.
Let's look at it from, and you could, in a weightlifting competition, the marker is what the guy lifted.
Exactly.
There's always a marker. In a football match, there's a goal that's marked out.
So I don't know why you just take it away for the one event.
It makes it interesting.
Yeah. Next is the deadlift for reps, and it's 360 kilos this year.
The Connect deadlift?
No, it's not. It's the BD Terrain HD Tire deadlift for reps. I can't remember.
I'm going to call it a deadlift for reps.
Yeah. So last year they had a deadlift for reps in the final, which was 353 kilos. So 7 kilos heavier this year. Tom is a great deadlifter. For reps, he came joint 6 on this last year in the final. So it wasn't his best deadlift result. Adam Bishop, however, has had exceptional deadlift for rep results. Since 2021, he's won a deadlifting competition 10 times.
He's a fantastic deadlifter.
He is. Luke, we've seen improvements on the deadlift. Gav, decent as well. I would expect Gav to do
Gav's
quite
top
well.
end level on deadlift is good, and he's a very solid deadlifter if he can make the final.
Yeah, and then Kane, I think, would hold his own as well.
The final event at World's Strongest Man is the Atlas Stones, and the only person I'm even going to talk about is Tom Stoltman.
That's rude.
It is rude. They're all good lifters.
Is that because you think Tom is going to be the only one in contention for the win at this point?
I do believe so.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest, you know, there's a number of these athletes that won't even make the final. Is probably the reality.
Yeah.
Tom Stoltman, there's a very, very good chance he does make the final, and if he's in a good position going into the Stones, he's won so many stone runs, whether it's heavy, light, you know, it doesn't matter. He is a fantastic stone lifter. Yeah. He's won the Stones at World's Strongest Man so many times now. He is the heavy favourite across every single athlete when it comes to this event. Yes, anything can happen. Athletes can have amazing performances. Mistakes happen, but he's got such confidence when it comes to the Stones, which is very important. And I feel if you want to beat Tom Stoltman at World's Strongest Man this year, you need to be ahead of him by a couple of points going into the Stones.
Yeah, agreed, because the Stones will also be the deciding factor if there's a tie in points. Yeah. So there we go then, lads. I've started off with probably the easiest one because there's the least amount of men. This is going to be fun when it comes to USA.
There's a lot of athletes from USA.
There is a lot of athletes, but like I think it's great because, you know, there are a lot of people that are lesser known. So highlighting what they're good at, what we should be watching out for.
It just kind of makes us aware, you know. There's athletes, like we said, like if Bish can make the final, he's very good at certain events.
Yeah.
He might not make the final. We've seen that in the last few years. Same with Gav. Gav is a great athlete, and he's going to have events that he could do well at, events that he might not do so well at. It comes down to who's in the final and who's in your groups, and that's going to be very, very interesting. The reality is Tom Stoltman has proved now for 4 years in a row he can come top 2 at World's Strongest Man. You said in the video how he's been in 4 stone-offs
and won every one.
So even if he's in 2nd or 3rd place in his group, the likelihood is he still makes the final, and then there's great events in the final for him. He's one of the favourites. Luke is looking fantastic right now. He's really coming into good shape this year. He wants a big push. You know, how many World's Strongest Man competitions does he have left? We do not know. Gav earlier this year and the end of last year was looking fantastic. His last few results have not been so good. We could say the same about Bish as well. We've seen amazing results from Bish in the past. The last couple of years, maybe not quite as good. I know his training's going well. Let's see how he can perform. And the new boy, Kane Francis, I'm looking forward to seeing him. He is a complete warrior. You know, with Kane, you're going to get 100% effort. Whether he can make the final or not is it's a big ask at your first Worlds. But we wish all these athletes the best of luck. Let us know who you guys are looking forward to watching from Team UK. And don't forget, like, share and subscribe to the channel.